June 1970, Hartford, Connecticut. A 26-year-old medical student wakes up with deep bleeding claw marks across her chest. She lives with 2 women. The only person in the room that night was a doll they swear moved on its own. When investigators arrived 2 days later, they found something even stranger. The doll wasn't just sitting in a new position, it was kneeling, even though its legs physically cannot bend. And the moment they picked her up, something happened that convinced even hardened skeptics that the doll wasn't haunted, but possessed. Annabelle, a name most people today know because of Hollywood. A terrifying porcelain doll with cracked cheeks, dead eyes, and a sinister grin. But the real Annabelle looked nothing like the one in the movies. She was soft, colorful, childlike. A classic Raggedy Ann doll sold in stores across America in the 1970s. Yet this harmless-looking toy became the centerpiece of one of the most infamous and debated paranormal cases ever recorded. And before she sat behind glass in the Warren Occult Museum, surrounded by warning signs and religious protections, she lived in a small Hartford apartment shared by 2 young nurses who were just trying to start their adult lives. What happened in that apartment, from the first small movements to the violent attack reported by a young man, shook them deeply enough that they reached out for help. Not from the police, not from a doctor, but from a priest. And then from 2 of the most controversial paranormal investigators of the 20th century, Ed and Lorraine Warren. This is the true story of Annabelle, not the Hollywood version, not the sensationalized legend, but the documented case as it was told by the people who lived through it. In early 1970, a woman purchased a large Raggedy Ann doll from a hobby store. Her daughter, Donna, was turning 28 and attending nursing school. Donna shared a small apartment with her roommate Angie, who was also a nurse. The doll was intended as a sweet, simple gift, something decorative she could place on her bed. Donna accepted it with gratitude and placed it in her bedroom. For the first few days, nothing unusual happened. Then small details began to feel off. Donna noticed the doll wasn't always in the position she remembered leaving it. Its head would tilt slightly. Its legs seemed arranged differently. At first, she assumed Angie had touched it while cleaning. Angie assumed Donna had moved it. They didn't take it seriously, but the movements became more obvious. Sometimes the doll would appear in a different room entirely. Donna would leave it on her bed in the morning and come home to find it sitting on the living room couch. Once, the doll was found on the floor, leaning against a dining room chair as if someone had intentionally placed it there. The roommates kept trying to reason it out. Did one of them move it absent-mindedly? Did they bump it without noticing? But the explanations no longer fit when the doll began showing up behind closed doors. Donna once left it in the living room and came home to find it sitting on her neatly made bed, in a bedroom she had locked before leaving. The doll, they realized, was no longer an amusing oddity. It was becoming a source of fear. That fear intensified dramatically when the first note appeared. The messages were written on small scraps of parchment paper, something neither Donna nor Angie owned or used. Each note was written in a childlike hand and contained short, unsettling messages. The first one read, "Help us." Another appeared a few days later, "Help Lou." Lou was Angie's fiancé. He spent a lot of time at the apartment and, from the moment he first saw the doll, expressed that something about it felt wrong. More notes appeared. They were often found lying on the floor or propped against furniture. Sometimes they were near the doll. Other times, they were across the room from it. What unsettled the women most was the material itself. They didn't own parchment. They didn't buy it. They had no reason to have it in the apartment. They wondered if someone was breaking in, but nothing else in the apartment was disturbed. No valuables were missing. No signs of forced entry were ever found. If someone was leaving these notes, the only logical suspect should have been a human intruder. But the messages, their placement, and the simultaneous movement of the doll made the situation feel stranger than simple trespassing. When the doll began appearing not only in different rooms, but in different positions, sometimes sitting upright, sometimes slumped in a corner, the women began to fear that the doll itself was responsible. Then Lou's experiences pushed the situation over the edge. Lou disliked the doll from the beginning. He told Donna and Angie that it made him uncomfortable. He said it felt like it was watching him. They laughed it off at first, but that changed after his first disturbing encounter. One night, while asleep in the apartment, Lou suddenly woke but found himself unable to move. He later described this as a sleep paralysis episode, but with a horrifying twist. He claimed he felt something crawling up his leg. When he looked down, he saw the Raggedy Ann doll. The doll, according to Lou, slowly moved up his body and pressed itself against his chest, tightening around his neck. He felt pressure, as if he were being strangled. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the episode ended. Lou snapped awake and found the doll lying on the floor. He had no scratches or bruises, but the incident shook him deeply. He dismissed it as a nightmare, until the second incident. A few days later, while planning a trip, Lou and Angie were sitting together when a noise came from Donna's room. Lou thought someone had broken in. He went to investigate. He pushed open the door and saw nothing unusual. But when he stepped farther into the room, he suddenly doubled over in pain. He lifted his shirt and saw 7 bloody claw marks across his chest. 3 vertical, 4 horizontal. The wounds were hot and painful. 2 days later, the scratches had healed completely, leaving no trace behind. The rapid healing confused them even more. For Donna and Angie, this was the breaking point. They could no longer ignore what was happening. They sought help, not from the police, but from a priest. That priest would ultimately contact the Warrens. Before the Warrens ever arrived, Donna and Angie invited a medium to the apartment. The medium performed a séance and delivered a story that would shape the next phase of the case. According to the medium, the land where the apartment building stood had once been farmland. A young girl named Annabelle Higgins, age 7, had died on that property many years earlier. The medium told the women that Annabelle's spirit was still present, lonely, lost, and looking for comfort. The medium said the spirit had attached itself to the Raggedy Ann doll because it felt safe there. She claimed that the spirit trusted Donna and Angie and wanted permission to remain in the apartment. Donna, compassionate by nature, agreed. She allowed the spirit to stay. Later, the Warrens would call this the greatest mistake of the entire case. When Ed and Lorraine Warren arrived at the apartment, they immediately rejected the medium's explanation. In the Warrens' view, based on their religious belief system, the spirits of deceased children do not inhabit dolls. They argued that an inhuman entity was pretending to be a child to gain sympathy. In their interpretation, the Annabelle Higgins story was a fabrication designed to trick Donna and Angie into inviting the entity into their lives. The Warrens believed the activity, the movements, the notes, the attack on Lou, indicated an attempt to oppress and eventually possess one of the women. After interviewing Donna, Angie, and Lou, The Warrens concluded the case required immediate action. A priest blessed the apartment. The Warrens advised that the doll be removed from the home entirely. Donna agreed to hand the doll over. The Warrens took Annabelle with them, but the activity, they claimed, didn't stop there. According to the Warrens' own accounts, the drive home with Annabelle was unusually dangerous. They placed the doll in the back seat and began driving. They claimed the car repeatedly stalled, causing them to lose steering and braking functions. Ed later said he had to douse the doll in holy water to stop the car from stalling. These details remain impossible to verify and have been heavily debated, but the Warrens stood by their version of events their entire lives. Once home, they placed Annabelle in Ed's office. According to their reports, the doll continued to move and shift positions. They claimed it once levitated briefly. They also said that a visiting priest picked up the doll and told it dismissively, "You're just a doll, you can't hurt anyone." On his way home that night, the priest's brakes reportedly failed, resulting in a near-fatal accident. These are the Warrens' claims, again, not independently verified, but central to the Annabelle case file they maintained. Eventually, they decided the doll needed to be contained permanently. The Warrens placed Annabelle in a specially built wooden case with a glass front. A hand-painted sign was added. Warning, positively do not open. The case was blessed by a priest, and Annabelle was considered secure. But she became the centerpiece of the Warrens' growing occult museum, a private collection of allegedly haunted artifacts from their investigations. Some visitors reported strange sensations when standing near the case: nausea, lightheadedness, sudden headaches. Cameras sometimes malfunctioned. Batteries drained unexpectedly. Whether these claims were psychological reactions or something else remains unknown. But the most notable incident connected to Annabelle's display occurred in the 1980s. According to the Warrens, a young couple visited the museum one afternoon. The man reportedly mocked the doll, tapping on the glass and daring it to scratch him. Ed Warren confronted him and asked the couple to leave. On their way home, the couple's motorcycle crashed. The man died instantly. His girlfriend survived but was hospitalized. She later claimed that just before the crash, her boyfriend had been laughing about the doll and swerving the motorcycle as a joke. This incident has no official police confirmation tying it to the museum insult, but it was a story the Warrens repeated throughout their careers, using it as a warning about taking Annabelle lightly. Today, Annabelle remains locked in the same wooden case, now under the care of surviving family and associates of the Warrens. The occult museum itself is closed to the public due to zoning issues, but Annabelle is still kept under religious protection. Those who handle her claim, cameras often malfunction near her, batteries drain quickly. Some people feel a heavy or oppressive sensation near the case. Visitors are warned never to touch the glass. Whether these occurrences are paranormal or psychological, the Annabelle case remains one of the most famous alleged hauntings in American history. The real story of Annabelle isn't about a porcelain doll with a frightening smile. It's about a simple Raggedy Ann toy that 3 young adults in 1970 believed was at the center of a terrifying series of events they couldn't explain. It's a case built on personal testimony, religious interpretation, and decades of retellings, some accurate, some not. But what makes Annabelle stand out from other haunted object stories is the level of detail recorded at the time, the involvement of the Warrens, and the lasting impact the story has had on paranormal culture. Whether Annabelle is a misunderstood artifact, a psychological phenomenon, or something genuinely unexplained, One thing is certain. Her story has endured for more than 50 years, outlasting most urban legends and inspiring one of the most recognizable horror icons in the world. And it all began in a small Hartford apartment, with a gift, a doll, a few handwritten notes, and a set of claw marks across someone's chest that no one could ever fully explain. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the true story behind Annabelle, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps the channel out. If you're new here, consider subscribing. We cover the darkest, strangest, and most unbelievable true stories every single week. If there's a case you want me to look into next, drop it down in the comments. I read everything you send. This is Last Known Report. Stay curious, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.